Hello, and welcome to the stream tonight. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay. So, I'm a little bit late. Hello, Maurice. Hello, Kim. Good to see you both virtually. I was a little bit late. Um, Lots of technology problems. I was just talking to Maurice on it on Slack about it just now. So, um, the issue that I had. Hello, Code Monkey. How's it going? The issue that I had with OBS a week and a half ago, which made me switch to Streamlabs OBS, is now the same problem with Streamlabs OBS because it updated. So something in the update of both OBS and Streamlabs OBS crashes with a result of me using Big Sur for my Mac, and some combination of browser source makes it all break. There seems to be a workaround. OBS equals our breaking software. Maybe, maybe. There seems to be a workaround, but I mean, I didn't think I needed the workaround because I'd switched to Streamlabs OBS. So I'm now going to have to dig into the workaround to see what I need to do. It's something to do with enabling monitoring of a source causes a problem when you either close down your machine and bring it back up again, something like that. But I haven't dug into it properly because, like I say, I had it working with Streamlabs OBS. Anyway, I have made a slight change to my the normal way I do things. So on last week's stream, with the help of Nils, we started looking at the Rider extension for Visual Studio, or the Rider extension for Cake. Now, what we found was that trying to open up IntelliJ IDEA, and in terms of running and compiling and doing everything, it was taking ages. So what I've done instead is I have borrowed some computing power from Microsoft Azure. So what you're now looking at, rather than a VM running locally on my machine trying to do all the bits, I've now got a VM in the cloud that runs much quicker. So the whole step that we did when we pressed play and it took like 15 minutes to do the compile and make things run, it runs far quicker now. So I shelled out a little bit of extra money, and by that I mean the monthly credits that I get as part of being an MVP with Microsoft. Shelled out a little bit more for a premium SSD with some more gigabytes of memory and things. So it now runs far quicker than it did before, which is good. The only slight downside is that I'm not particularly happy with the resolution that I'm getting through the RDP connection, but hopefully it's coming through okay. If it's not, if it's too hard to read, let me know and I will try and fix it. But for now, we are not looking at the Rider extension. We're stopping that. I do think I hear your Mac trying to take off. What you're maybe hearing is my heater. I can sit in the cold if that helps. Is that better? Do you not hear it as bad anymore, Maurice? I've turned it off. I'll sit in the cold. No change. Really? My Mac is probably doing less work than it normally does. Oh, now it's gone. Okay, right. So it was my heater. So I've turned the heater off. So I'll sit in the cold. It's fine. Don't worry. Saw Nils come into the chat room there as well. Hello, Nils. I was just saying that I've invested some of my free monthly Azure credits, and I'm now running a VM in the cloud rather than my VM locally on my Mac. So the running of IntelliJ IDEA and the Rider extension is far quicker than it was last week. So I'm not doing any work on the Rider extension this week, mainly because Nils and I had a conversation with a lassie called, I'm going to say Anna. Now, unbeknownst to me, rider extension for Cake. Someone, Anna, had actually already created a plugin for Cake. So she had done some work a tail end of 2019. Let me just maybe zoom in a little bit here as well. And she created a rider plugin for Cake. Now, so I reached out to her after Nils told us about. After Nils told me that it was there, we reached out to her and we created an issue. And she is on board with helping bring the official Cake team rider extension up to par with VS Code extension. So I'm kind of leaving Nils and Anna to work on that in the background and help out when I can. So what I want to do instead is I want to look at the Cake extension for Visual Studio. I saw Augusto coming in the chat room there. Hello, Augusto. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Now, where I got to over the weekend is I might have broken it. So part of what I want to look at today is making sure that one, I haven't broken it, and two, if I have broken it, I need to fix it. So what I did over the weekend was I basically got the existing Visual Studio extension for Cake was created by Alistair on the team, and it got to a point where it worked in 2015 Visual Studio, it worked in 2017 Visual Studio, but it didn't work in 2019 Visual Studio. So what I did over the weekend was I opened the solution in Visual Studio 2019 and I set about trying to get it to compile. Now, that should have been simple. Naively, I thought that was going to be simple, but it wasn't. So I've literally ripped it a new one, for want of a better phrase. So in the previous version of this project in Visual Studio, it had a ton of references to Microsoft.visualstudio.star references. So doing some reading over the weekend and speaking to Matt Lacey on Twitter, who does a number of Visual Studio extensions, I've changed it all up now to use a new meta package. You can maybe just about see that. I don't think I can zoom into Solution Explorer. I'm now using a meta package, which is Microsoft.visualstudio.sdk. So that meta package brings down everything that's needed to get it all to work. And then you can specify, or depending on which version you pull in, is for what version of Visual Studio that you're targeting. So I've got it to the point where it compiles. The only thing that I had to do that I didn't necessarily like, so let me bring this up. So if I cd into here and go into GitHub, organizations, Cake, and then Cake VS, and I look at the build for it, the only thing that I had to do that I didn't necessarily feel particularly good about was in my build.cake file, I removed a line here. There was previously a line in here that said all build warnings are promoted to errors. And I took that out because there was a lot of them. So I kind of want to go back and put that setting back on again to fix those warnings so that they're no longer errors. But the main focus of tonight was to bring in this VM. So this VM is another VM that's running in Azure that has Visual Studio 2015 in it. And this is another VM that I have in Azure that has Visual Studio 2017 in it. So what I want to do is I want to test both of those instances of Visual Studio running the extension to see if they work, and if they don't work, figure out what's going on. So I thought it was a good opportunity to test those out. Now the way that I'm going to test those out is, if I bring this back over here, and I go up to, I know that Augusto has played with this, or he's at least aware of the issue, because I saw him tell someone else about it. But if I go in here and I do Visual Studio extension for MyGet, then there is a blog post that explains how to set up the Visual Studio instance to have a different feed for pulling in pre-release packages. So every time we do a build on AppVeyor, currently for the Visual Studio extension for Cake, we publish the v6 to a myget feed. So when you bring in Visual Studio 2015, so this is Visual Studio 2015 here, if I go into Tools and I go into Options and I go into Extensions and Updates, then you have the opportunity here to add an additional feed. So I've already added that in. So what that should let me do is if I go to Tools and Extensions and Updates, and I go online and I look at Cake myget, then this should be the freshly built v6 for the Cake extension for Visual Studio that I compiled and published on either Saturday or Sunday, one of the two. So I'm going to install it on here to see what it does. So the first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to open up my console application that I created. And yeah, maybe that is where my credit card bill might run. So I have got a upper limit on how much I'm allowed to spend. So if nothing else, it'll get cut off. So new version, no, not now. So if I go up to Tools and I go to Extensions and Updates and I go back into that online screen and I click on Cake myget, I should be able to download and install that v6. And I'm going to need to restart Visual Studio, obviously. So what I'm going to see is whether or not, one, that extension installs correctly, and if it does, whether I can start using the functionality that it provides. So let's see where we get to. The Cake package did not load properly. Oh, the problem may have been caused by a configuration change or the installation of another extension. You can get information by examining the file blah 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 activitylog.xml. So that's broken. I was kind of expecting that to happen. I was kind of expecting that to happen in 2015, if I'm honest, because yeah, I was sort of expecting that. But if I go build, oh, you see, it is there. So what happens if I do install Bootstrapper? What does that do? That didn't do anything. So the build menu's there, but it doesn't do anything. Oh, what's happening there, Maurice? That's not coming through in the right place. Hold on. Featured chat. Can I move that up a bit? Hold on. Let's do it live. Zzz. Let's move it up a bit. There we go. I can see Maurice now. Better. There we go. Shutting down in 15 minutes. That might happen. So Pascal brings up a good question. So that's kind of where my thought process was going, Pascal, is that one, I wanted to see if it was working or not. And if it wasn't working, I kind of had that same thought as to whether or not we just don't support 2015 anymore. So with that in mind, if that's 2015, let's say that that's just not working. Let's bring in 2017 and let's do the same thing. So let's go Tools, Extensions and Updates, and go online. So I've set up the same feed in here. So if I click on download here then, and click on close and click on close, that will then initialize the installation of the v6. So what do you mean by that though? So if we don't support 2015, my gut was telling me that we should support 2017 and 2019. But what you've just said there was suggest that maybe we should only support 2019. So what are your thoughts there? Well, I think if I set up the extension correctly, it shouldn't allow the installation on anything other than what's supported. So if I restart Visual Studio 2017 here, so let me, didn't come up with the error message that we had before, which is a good start. The cake build stuff's still there. So if I open up my console app then, what's going to happen here? Okay, so I think it should be easier to support 2017 and 2019, and we could just remove the 2015. And like I say, I don't think it would allow the installation if it doesn't. If we specify in the manifest file, it wouldn't allow the installation for 2015. I think. So I've got a console app open. So if I click on build and go to cake build, I've got the kind of, these are the equivalent operations that we can do in Visual Studio Code when we go to the command palette and we say install a Bootstrapper. So if I click on the install the PowerShell Bootstrapper, fingers crossed, yes it did, it worked. So that pulled down the default build.ps1. Let me just open this up a little bit bigger so we can see it. So there's the default build.ps1 for .NET Framework. Now this is one of the changes that I'm going to want to put into the extension now that I know it's kind of working. What is this? If this works, so there was a link from Maurice about, let me see if I can grab it. Copy, no. How do I get that out of? Copy. See if I can open it. Paste. There we go. It does work. So support for older versions of Visual Studio. So what Maurice is suggesting, I think, is... Oh, I've not put Google Chrome on here, or did I? I did. Let's bring it up in here and paste into here. So mainstream support of Visual Studio 2015 runs through to the end of October 2025. Microsoft has a few employees more than we have at Cake to support this. Yes, that's very true. So I think I'm erring towards what Pascal's suggesting. But let's say I want to run through the functionality to make sure that we haven't broken anything. So the that Bootstrapper installs, and if I go in here and do download of the Bash Bootstrapper, so it got installed and downloaded, perfect. And then the other one is if we do cake build and we say install cake config file, then it got downloaded and it got populated with the INI file. So good. So the other thing that I wanted to do was if I right click on here and say add new item, one of the things that we get in here is a cake build script. So again, this is the equivalent of what we do in the command palette. So if I click on that, then we get, okay, yes, we get a nice shiny icon in the bottom right hand corner to indicate that it's a cake script. Beautiful. Standard cake script getting installed there. And the other thing that happens is, and this is where I need to have cake installed globally at the minute to make this work. But if I go up to here and I go view other windows task runner explorer, then it'll say no tasks found. And it'll say that because it doesn't, there's no cake to help with that. But if I go over here and I say, let's make this a little bit bigger, edit, font 20. If I do choco install cake.portable, the cake just for a few seconds more, it will be a lie, but it won't be after this is installed. So if I minimize that, then I think, oh look, it didn't need a oh, my head's in the way. So now down here, let's pull this up. So now down here in the Cake Runner Explorer, the Task Runner Explorer, then we can see that it's picked up the default task that it exists, and then in here we would have the option of double clicking it to actually run the task, but you also have the opportunity to do a binding between some part of the build process within Visual Studio to then trigger one of the targets within the Cake script. So in here, you could put a binding between, let's say, after the Visual Studio build created, you can then add that to the after build. So you can link the two things together. And what that does is that then updates the Cake config file to have a binding to control how those two things are linked together. Okay, so that's not functionality that we have in the Visual Studio extension for Visual Studio Code extension, but it is something that we have within the Visual Studio extension. So that's there, that's working. The other thing that we need to test out is if we go up to here and we go to add new project, and then if we search up here for Cake, then we get 4 project templates that ship as part of the extension. One is the Cake add-in. So I'm just going to click that first one there. So what should happen is a new project called Cake add-in 1 should get added to the solution. That will contain a basic template for creating a Cake add-in, which comes complete with kind of recommended package references via package.config at the minute. And then the references set up for those things. So then there's that one. And then if we do the same thing again for add a new project with a unit test this time, if we click go here, it's basically the same thing, but it includes some, or is the unit testing project for the Cake add-in. So again, it's got packages.config file, it's got xunit built in, etc., etc., etc. So that's a big question, Nils. So let me come back to that. Remind me. I want to come back to that point. Let me finish this part out, and I'm going to make sure that they all work to start with. So unit testing project again, but this time is empty, so it doesn't have any stubbed out unit tests. It's just the basic test with none of the existing classes there. And the final one is the add new project, which is for creating a Cake module. So it provides a sample of a logging module where you can override the functionality and show how you could create your own module as part of the functionality. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that is the guts of the functionality. So if I go cake build, cake-vs. So if I come up to here and look at, we've looked at the task runner explorer, we've looked at the bindings, we've looked at the runner will automatically use a project local copy of Cake if it's already present, or one of the project default paths. However, at this time, it will not automatically download Cake for you. So that's maybe something that we'll want to look into. I'm going to bump this a little bit as well, so you can see it above my head. It's got the template installers. We've tested those out. That works. It's got the project templates. We've tested that. So in terms of functionality, I think I've just proven to myself that the core pieces of the functionality work. So this brings us to the next question. So the question that Nils raised. So the question that Nils raised is, do we want those project templates? Is that kind of contrary to the Yeoman template? So the question there, thank you very much, Maurice. I appreciate, or I'm assuming that was Maurice. That might have been Kim, because he's also got the power to put that thing there. But I'm going to assume it was Maurice at this point. It was Maurice. So if we go back up here and we look at Cake build, that's not Cake build. So if I open up this and I look, can I do it here without being logged in? I can. So the Cake project actually has a Yeoman generator. So there's actually 2 Yeoman generators out there. There's the one that Cake ships, the team that we ship. We haven't updated it in a while, but we do ship one. And there is the Cake contrib Yeoman generator, which Kim in the chat room is kind of the the maintainer of. Now that one is very much focused on creating an add-in to adhere to the Cake contrib way of doing things. The one that we have within the Visual Studio and the one that we have within the Cake Yeoman Generator is a much more stripped down, much more baseline of here's an add-in, and this is how you do it. Now, what Alistair also created at the time, now I haven't dug into this, is it in here? He created a template generator, that was it, called Pantry. These names, it's amazing. So he created Pantry, which is a collection of simple handlebar templates which should generate the template from a common set of files to then be able to create it for Visual Studio extension, to be able to create it for the Yeoman Generator, and to create it for anyone else that needs it. Now, that project hasn't been updated in a long time, right? But the premise was there that we would create a single set of script templates and then be able to create the necessary functionality to make it update the template in Visual Studio extension, update it in the Yeoman Generator, update it whatever we needed it to. So at the minute, I don't want to remove any functionality that existed already within the Visual Studio extension. All I'm trying to do at this point in time is to update it to get it to work in Visual Studio 2019, and then ship a new version, and then make some decisions about how we want to do things going forward. Because like I say, I personally haven't looked at the Pantry thing since, ever, I think. Are you guys thinking about converging all of these templates into .NET New template at some point in the future? So I personally don't have any immediate plans to do that, Augusto. The concept of the Pantry project should allow for that. But I think Pascal spoke about this on an issue at some point, or he brought it up within the team. And so at the minute, we don't really want to take on another overhead, which is, I don't think we want to take on another overhead, which is another way to do something. At the minute, we're part of the 1.0 release is to refine and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? To focus our attention on the immediate priorities. So for now, the immediate priorities was getting the 1.0 release done. It was to get the Cake extension for Visual Studio Code updated. It's to get the Visual Studio extension updated, and then to ultimately ship 1.0 with an updated and refined documentation set. So Pascal's been working on the documentation set. I've been working on the Cake extension for Visual Studio Code. This is me now working on the Visual Studio extension. At some point, we may look at doing a .NET New template, but at the minute, no. Just to say it, there is a .NET New template for creating Cake. So that's true, yes. So that's kind of deliberate because, so what Kim's saying there is that there is a .NET New template for Cake.frosting. Now that kind of come out of the box, in the sense that Cake.frosting is a Visual Studio project in its own right, so it made sense to have a templating engine to create that project and scaffold that out. From an archive repo though, what does that mean? Cake.frosting has now been brought into the Cake repository proper, along with the template, Kim. So everything that is or was Cake.frosting is now in the Cake repository, and that includes the frosting template. So the frosting template is in here, and this is what's used as part of .NET New. Some other comments here. Consequently, providing .NET New template would probably deprecate the Yeoman Generator, potentially. So yes, that's something else to think about. And then gist.cakebuild.net, same idea as GitHub gist, but only Cake files are allowed. If you want to build that, Maurice, have at it. It was just linked to wrong repo at .NET templating wiki. Oh, interesting. We may have to get that updated. Let me bring this into the chat. It was one of the early ones, so oh yeah, we should probably get that updated. Can I edit that while I'm here? Maybe if I sign in. I'm going to do it off screen. Can I edit this page? No, it doesn't look like I can. That's unfortunate. Is the .NET New as good as Yeoman? I think I would agree with Kim here. I mean, I'm assuming those that you've seen the Yeoman Generator that Kim has. It's very interactive. There's menu structures. You can choose what you want to include, what you don't want to include. Yada. .NET New, from my understanding, is .NET New. Boom. And Pascal's agreeing as well. So much more powerful. The question is, it would really require it. So yeah, there's definitely some conversations around consolidating the functionality, and really it's a case of our time doing open source stuff is limited, so we want to focus our attention on the things that we really need. So the Visual Studio extension, the Visual Studio Code extension are the things that people often ask for, so it would be good to have feature parity between them, and then with the Rider extension, if we can get that, and then yeah, .NET New templates. I personally would be happy for someone in the community to be picking that up, but we would still want to provide some guidance on what's happening in those, I think, but I don't think it's anything. I think it's fair to say that there's no immediate plans within the team to pick that up. And so Nils is saying when, not if. I like the sound of that. So anyway, so 2017 works. The process that I just went through, I'd already done that on my 2019 box, which is, so that's this box, that's the original box that I was on. So I'd already tested the Cake extension here in Visual Studio 2019, and the same functionality works. So on that basis, I think what I can do then is if I come in here and I say, I think I want to change this. So I think it's as simple as saying that I want that, and I want that, and I want that. And I think that changes it to look for Visual Studio 2017 and 19 rather than 15, 17, and 19. So I think that's all we need to do. So with that, I'm going to say that I can do a commit there to only target Visual Studio, those two versions of Visual Studio. I can say okay to that. Did that not save? Didn't save it. So up here, I should have cake build cake -vs. So as the other Cake team member that's in the chat room, Pascal. So that's on my list as well, Maurice. That's on my list here. But yes, you make a very good point. You can feel free to bring that into the feature chat if you want, because that will need to be done. Yes. So where have I been putting these commits? 113. There we go. So yeah, there are a couple of mentions of 2015 in the description, etc., that we want to change. So I'm going to say stash this, and I'm going to say GH113. Well, I've gone a little bit blurry. Only support 2017 and 2019. We tested running on Visual Studio 2015, and this didn't work very well. Very well. Rather than dig into what isn't working, decision was made to remove support for 2015 and focus only on 2017 and 2019 for now. I'm happy with that. Would probably need an issue as well to describe a breaking change, assuming that GRM is being used for release notes. You make a good point, Kim. Okay. The GRM is in the mix. Yes. Okay, fine. So let's create a new issue and say remove support for Visual Studio 2015. Assign myself breaking change milestone 030, submit new issue. Okay, so glad that Kim's here to keep me honest. I would have just let that fly. Uh, 2014, save, close. So if you wanted to flag that comment, if you wanted to feature that, Maurice, I'll bring that up. So yes, so a couple weeks ago, I played with, no, not that one. The new layout one was what I was going to talk about. The couple weeks ago, I played with this featured.chat thing, which brings up or highlights or features comments or from the chat and brings them in so that it's more clearly visible what we're talking about. So I added Maurice and Kim as moderators of that, so they can bring things in for discussion. All seems to work really well. It's written by one of the other folks from the live.coders team, so really thankful to them for creating it. But what Maurice did tail end of the week is he changed the theme. So within feature.chat, you can control the CSS and the HTML for the little pop-up that's on the screen there. So Maurice spent a little bit of time updating the HTML and CSS to more kind of fit in with the rest of the theme that I've got going on in the stream. So yeah, really thankful to Maurice for doing that. So that was looking really good. So yeah, let's go back to the other one. So if I go into here and I say, let's do a wee search in here for 2015, then there's a couple places in the README that we need to update. So let's make Markdown lint stop screaming first. All these yellow lines, need to get rid of them. Is that big enough? Maybe make it a bit bigger, will we? That's not letting me view appearance. Zoom in. Maybe a bit better, is it? But yeah, let's make Markdown lint stop screaming first, and then that wants an extra space. I think is what it wants. What are you screaming about? No trailing space. Okay. Let's just have a quick look here. Oh, there's a few. I'm going to get rid of all these yellow squigglies first. It's probably showing them here, isn't it? There we go. There we go. Okay. I'm going to say, let's add, Madge Christensen knows what his own name is, so let's add that into there. Let's add that into let's add this into here. What else are we? Add-ins. You can go there. You get, where are you? Oh yeah, you can go in there too. I thought we added, oh it was add-ins we added. So let's do that. Commit-ish is a great word, but it is a valid one. Add that in there. V6 manifest, that's valid too. Nutkegs, absolutely, that's a valid word. Nutkeg, the reciprocal, is also a valid word. Where'd it go? It's over here. Nutkeg is a valid word. XUnit, also a valid word. MSIL, absolutely. V6, absolutely. And appvar, I'm going to add that in too because otherwise it's just going to annoy me. Okay, so Pascal's saying, I plan to update VS section on the website to bring it up to date and more in sync with the structure for VS Code. Okay, cool. We currently also have more doc in the repo than on the website, which should be considered. So it's the same situation, I think, with regard to, it doesn't see, it sees it as it's because of the capital letter. It doesn't see app. It sees app as a valid word, and then var, it's the only way you can put it in. And it's the only way you can make it stop screaming, so I had to fix it. It's the same scenario, I think, though, Pascal, with regard to the README. The README will be brought into the marketplace. So, again, for the same reason that we left it in the VS Code extension README, I think we're going to leave it here as well. But we may want to split it up. We can certainly do that. I'm going to say maint fixing markdown lint and spelling suggestions. Go. Oh, 2 characters. Fix. Even better. Right. Yes. Okay, what was I doing before I got sidetracked by that? Oh yeah, I remember. 2015. So in here, add support for Cake build tool in Visual Studio 2017 and 2019. That's what we'll say there. Extensibility tools for cloning and building the project yourself. Make sure to install. That's not valid anymore. I don't think you need that anymore. It's certainly not the 2015 version anyway. So I'm going to take that out just now. Add support for Cake build tool in Visual Studio 2017 and 2019. Include support for the Taskbar Explorer, new templates, and bootstrapping importing Cake files. Okay, cool. The regex, add support for Cake build tool in 2017. Oh, that's not what I wanted. 2017 and 2019. And then a final one is in here, 2017 and 2019. Okay. Okay, so I agree with Pascal then, yes. So GH114, update descriptions to indicate change, i.e. only supporting 2017 and 2019 going forward, no longer supporting 2015. Okay, done that. Ooh, that's maybe a good idea too. I like that. So Kim is suggesting that we also search for 14.0, which would be indicative of the project templates or the Visual Studio version that is currently supported. So should that be a 15? I think it should, shouldn't it? Old tools version. What's the old tools version attribute? Anyone know what the old tools version attribute is? No idea from Kim. Nils, Augusto, Pascal, Maurice. Anyone know what the old tools version attribute is? Can it be deleted? Might come back to it. I'm fairly certain that I'm going to want to change this to be 15. I think I want this one to be 15. So unless anyone tells me different, I'm going to change that to be 15. Can always back it out. Project template 15. These are all the projects for the templates that we ship. Project 15. Project version 15. Project version 15. Would that suggest that we could move it? Okay then, let's do it. Pascal says we'll put his name on the commit. We'll put Pascal's name on the commit to say that he said to do it. Old versions. Let's remove that. Let's remove that. Let's remove. That's a good shout though in terms of searching for 14.0. Maurice is bringing something up. Let me bring it in. Up here. I can maybe switch these VMs off while. Maybe switch my VMs off to save myself some pennies. While where is that window? It's not there. This one? Oh, it is. Let's move that out. Refresh. Oh, hold on. I'm falling behind. Give me a second. I was going to see what Maurice is saying here. The only visible changes in my solution after these upgrades is that a few of the old CS proj files get their upgrade location incremented by 1. For example, upgrade backup location, and then there's the old tools version as well. Simply to remove them. Okay, fine. Let's do that. So old tools version is here, and you need to delete 3 lines in total. You can also delete upgrade backup location and file upgrade flags. Okay, fine. So let's do this. Let's have a wee search. What's it called? Upgrade backup location. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Let's just leave it there. Upgrade backup location and file upgrade flags. Love it. Take those out too. Take this out, and then these ones. Take these ones out. Get in there. Okay, so file save. Oh, I was going to switch off those VMs while I was. I'm going to try and not shut down the one that I'm actually using, but I'm going to shut down the other ones just now because I don't think we need them. So I'm going to stop this one. And if I go back here and I click on this one and I say stop. So I'm going to keep them around. I'll still have access to them. So if we need to test on other stuff, I'll still have them. They're just shut down. They're not costing me money. Well, apart from the hard disk space. So let's do this. Back to this one. and we'll say gh-114 remove usage of 14.0. Also delete unnecessary elements from CS proj file as per this article. Copy, paste, do it. Okay. So oh, hey Jan, how's it going? Hey everyone, just want to say hello. Stay safe. Yes, indeed, Jan, and yourself. I hope you are staying safe in your part of the world as well. So, in theory, following those changes, nothing should have broken, he says. But we'll test it. So this will fire up the Visual Studio Experimental Development Edition with the Cake extension preloaded. And if that works, then we'll maybe quickly run through those tests that we did on the 2017 machine, make sure they're still working. And then I want to actually look into doing two pieces of functionality. The first one is that currently the Cake extension, in order to populate this task runner explorer that's here, looks for a global installation of cake.exe or a local tools folder version of it. I would like that to also look for the global installation of the .NET Global tool for Cake. So that would be a similar parity in terms of how it works for the VS Code extension. And then I also want to change this to look more like the command palette that we have now in Visual Studio Code, where we have the option to download the .NET Framework bootstrappers, the .NET Tool bootstrappers, and the .NET Core bootstrappers. So I would like parity between those as well. And if I can get both of those things, then we can ship it. So in here, I'm going to delete these things because we're going to re-download them. There's my Windows Form application. Look, Jan would be happy with me. Look, it's amazing. It's not quite WPF though, but it's still a pretty looking Windows Form app. Look at that. If we do cake build, cake, install Bootstrapper. Oh, no, why is that? That's maybe because I didn't save it. Oh no, because it doesn't actually delete them from disk. It just puts them on the folder. It just removes them from the solution. Good old WinForms, indeed, indeed. Many years spent doing Windows Form development. That's where I started my career. VB6 for the win. Temp, VS test in here. Doesn't actually delete them from disk, which is kind of annoying. It just removes them from the solution. So if we do this again and do cake build, install Bootstrapper, beautiful. And let's bump this up so that everyone can see. There's my PowerShell Bootstrapper. Let's do the shell one, which is here. Let's do the config file, which is there. Got my INI file, beautiful. Let's say we want to add a new item. Still using it at business code. I saw that you are, because your cake script is doing all the Delphi stuff. I never played with Delphi, or Delphi, however you pronounce it. Never got to play with that. It was Object-Pal and what was it called? It was the alternative to Paradox is where I started. Paradox and Object-Pal, and VB6 is where I started. Kind of annoying. Create an issue. What was kind of annoying? What did I miss there, Nils? I did some Pascal, Delphi back in the day. Wow, there you go. I forgot to send you the cake stuff. Oh, for a gist or a gist of the exact. I mean, there's no immediate rush. It was what we were trying to do there. That Jan, when we were doing that on Twitter, was to try and build up, like a showcase, like a show and tell within the discussions. So we'd be able to point folks at here's an example of what you can do. So there's no immediate rush for that. But if you do have one, it would be good. And if you could stick in a discussion under the show and tell category of basically saying, this is me using Cake to do a Delphi build or have just a little bit of snippet and then a link to the gist, that would be great if you could. But yeah, no need to apologize. Deleting from disk. But I don't know if it's. Well, I don't know if it's a Cake extension issue there. I just think it's the way the Solution Explorer works, isn't it? I think Solution Explorer simply removes the file from the solution. It doesn't. That's a Visual Studio artifact, isn't it? That would be great, Jan, if you could. Appreciate it. Build Dotnetcake. Not a problem, Kim. I hope you have a good evening. Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Yeah, I'm fairly sure it's a Visual Studio thing. I don't think there's anything in the way that we add the items into the solution that would prevent them from getting deleted from disk. I could be wrong. Maybe raise an issue about that, Nils, just so we don't forget about it and we can dig into it a little bit. I love this. Got this icon here. I love it. So that was that, and then obviously add a new project. Okay, so it's happening on your machine as well, is what you mean. That's great, that's good. So if I go back up to here and I say Cake add-in, then I don't think we'll have broken anything. It's a VS thing in the non-SDK. That maybe makes sense. Yes. Yes. Because this is definitely not, this is old school. This is an old school project, yes. Because, well, one of the things that I've thought about is currently the template that we have is generating the old CS proj along with a packages.config file. So probably at some point we'd want to update those templates to use the new style CS proj and package references as well. So that's a job for a different day, though. That's not a job for today. So all of this still seems to be working. So I'm going to say that's good. So we haven't broken anything. So with that in mind, I want to start to figure out how I can do I want to add additional menu items here for the bootstrappers. So I haven't got a Scoobies how to do this. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to search for the words install PowerShell Bootstrapper, and I am going to find my way back from however this works, and I'm going to try and create a new one. So let's dig in. So this button text is part of the GUID Cake package command set 1, and it has an ID of command ID install bootstrapper command with type of button. Okay. And its parent is the GUID Cake package. No, that's the same thing. Okay. Parent is submenu group button. So I'm seeing that there's 3 buttons. I'm going to guess that those 3 buttons are the 3 items in Visual Studio. So those 3 buttons are these things here. And those buttons are made up of. There's another button there. There's another button there. There's lots of buttons. I didn't think there was that many buttons. Oh, verbose debug. So that would be the functionality that appears in the Task Runner Explorer. So that is command verbose debug dry run experimental. I'd forgotten about those, but if we go back to the cake build.net and we look at the blog post again, so that was Visual Studio extension myget. Love that search, Pascal. Love it. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. GitHub. Cake build. Cake VS. Then what Alistair added, it's not shown in the screenshots, but the Task Runner Explorer, he adds buttons here, and those buttons allow you to trigger a dry run. And the experimental one doesn't make sense anymore, does it? That one doesn't make any sense anymore because we don't have the experimental feature flag. Might have to create an issue to remove that. Remove usage of experimental option passed to cake. This has been removed in newer versions of cake and should no longer be passed through as option. Label would be, that's a breaking change as well. Kim's not here, so if I start doing anything that's a breaking change, Kim's not here to shout at me, so if someone else can shout at me, that would be appreciated. What was Jan saying? Maurice, I made my first simple music player in Delphi 7 until FMOD. What's FMOD? Stops the Delphi support. On work we use Delphi 5 and Delphi Rio. Never heard of Delphi Rio, but I must say I hate and then Maurice, and I worked for this company in the software, started in DOS. It had a lot of assembly code in it to rotate images from back in the day. That image processing wasn't normal. I believe that of today the rotation in the software still uses assembly, and it's still faster than using any library. Pascal, there was a time when Delphi was great, back when it was owned by Borland, to have local functions back in the 90s for the win. Never had that experience. All you guys are Delphi developers. Never had it. Like I say, it was... Where did I start? My first real Paradox and Object Pal is what it was called. Is it this one? There we go. This is where I started my development career. Object-oriented Paradox application language is a programming language used either... Well, it was Borland as well. Borland Paradox database. That was the one. That was where I started. The company that I used to work for, its CMS really was written in Paradox, and it had the whole front end UI, back end written in this thing. It was immense. Happy days. Anyway, VisiQuick use Paradox as the data. There you go. See? There you go. Small world. I started with BASIC on Acorn Archimedes, then moved to Java during my studies. See, I honestly, I didn't start programming properly until I left university. I didn't do a computer science degree. I didn't take a normal route into development. I'm an electrical and electronic engineer to trade. That's where I started, and then I got a taste for programming, and that's where I transitioned out of the hardware side of stuff and started playing on the software side. That's maybe true, Augusto. I've heard that from other folks too. VisiQuick is a tool to acquire digital X-ray images. There you go. There you go. Forgotten what I was. I was going to do this. I was going to remove this experimental stuff. Is where I think I was going to go next. But now I can use Delphi, Pascal, C#. Well, that's very true. If you follow the development career of Anders, then yes, you would have. Yeah, absolutely. I can say I know enough TypeScript to be dangerous. Nils will testify to that with the work that we did on the VS Code extension. I was going to search here for experimental because I'm going to remove that experimental button. I think that's what I want to do next. Let's dig into how these things are put together, and let's have a look at the experimental button. So in here, there is an experimental. I'm going to take that button out. I'm just going to delete it. It's gone, right? So in here, I'm going to take that one out. And then in here, I'm just going to delete that as well. I'm on a roll with deleting stuff. Did I delete too much there? No, I didn't. Take that one out too. And then in here, this is now going to complain because we don't have that package ID, which is good. So that means we are going to take that out. Oh, look at that. I've just deleted a bunch of code that I have no idea how it works. I feel quite good. As of today, Cake still uses Pascal. That's a very fair statement. It's a very fair statement. If we're talking about old, so this Bottle Blonde Scott, if we're talking about old crazy languages, Magic with a K, which started around 1988 based on Smalltalk, it didn't have Boolean values. It had true, false, love it, and maybe, love it. I think the oldest one, so like I say, VB6 is kind of as far as I go back. 1988. I don't know how old you are, Bottle One Scott, but I was 7 in 1988. So, but I love maybe. The thing that jumped to mind as soon as you said that, it's the whole truthy and falsy within JavaScript. That's what sprung to mind, where you need 3 equals to make sure it's really, really true or really, really false. That made me laugh when I first came across that. And Jan, did you not say that you were playing with JavaScript just now as well? Fun times, eh? Fun times. So if we come in here and we refresh this, then these buttons. So there's the debug one. I'll move my head. So there's a debug one, there's a verbose one, and there's a dry run. And there was an experimental one here, and we've just removed it. So I think we did the right thing there. VB has also a tri-state bool. I think you're right. Nils. VB, tri-state bool. I think you're right. An MSDN article from 2008. Boolean. It's been so long since I've read VB. No, that's a special one that they're creating. And there's an enum. Still trying to solve my advent code. Oh, is that how you're doing it? I see. Gotcha. Because, yeah, I think Martin on the Cake team said he's doing the Advent of, what was it, the Advent code calendar. I haven't played with it this year, but he said he's doing the same. He's doing it in F sharp. So you're doing it in JavaScript and TypeScript. Cool. I started with BASIC on an MSX game computer. I did not know what I was doing, but my dad gave me a book, the BASIC cookbook, and told me that I could type in the text and was in the console font. And there you go. Did it work? Keep looking over the... Is that one of the Tellerand? Is that one of the challenges? I don't know. I feel myself getting down a rabbit hole there. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say that we're going to save that. You messed it up. Fun times though. I bet you went back and did it again though, didn't you? 115. Remove experimental flag. This is no longer used in cake, so shouldn't be allowed to pass it through. I'll get there. Pass it through from the task runner explorer. Oh, there you go. See, that's the thing that I missed. So my first introduction to a computer was a Commodore 64. My dad brought it home. I was, I don't know, 10, 11 maybe. My dad brought it home from some colleague at work as my first foray into computing. And I just played games on it. I didn't know that it had a BASIC built in. I didn't know that you could do programming with it. I just knew that I could play Dizzy, the Egg, and the puzzle games that came with it. That's all I used the Commodore 64 for throughout my childhood. Didn't do any programming with it. First programming I did was when I got to university. So I kind of missed out on doing all that sort of stuff. I also see you all did the. I didn't do it. This is the book. Oh, maybe bring it up. Let's have a look. I feel I'm going down a rabbit hole again. There you go. The BASIC cookbook. It's maybe worth money now. You should keep it around. Make a fortune off of it. I started also with BASIC on my C20 128. So it was a C64 that I had. I started also with BASIC. Could be switched. That was really cool. This brings great memories. I have the book at my parents' place. Oh, look at that. Should I look for a copy of it? And I only found out that there was BASIC after I did push the game deep enough into the console. I started with Clipper Summer 1987. Feeling old here. There you go. There's definitely a rabbit in here. There's a rabbit in this chat room somewhere. I think there's a squirrel kicking about as well. Anyway, right, what was I doing? I did that one. Right, this button. I'm trying to make another button. That's what I'm trying to do. So, where did we get to? Install PowerShell. I'm typing in the wrong window. I know I am, but I'm going to copy and paste it now that I've typed it. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do this. So, what makes this button appear on the screen? So let's have a wee search for this guy. Where's he defined? So he's defined there, and then he's initialized here. Defines a command set. Install Bootstrapper command. So where is install Bootstrapper command? There's a menu item that is install. Oh, so they are two separate commands. So what I want to know then, that's not what I want to know. Get rid of this. What I want to know then, and if anybody in the chat room knows, feel free to pipe up. How do I add a folder? Maybe if I search for cake build, I want to add another folder. So I want to have it cake build, and then I want to have a folder that is install bootstrappers, and then in there I want to have 6 menu items that is install .NET Framework Powershell Bootstrapper, install .NET Framework Bootstrapper. So the exact same that we have with the command palette. Oh, Matt Lacey's in the chat room. Perfect. Matt, you're a legend. What do I need to do? What do I need? I want to create a Bootstrappers section under my cake build node. And if you can help me with this, Matt, I owe you a drink the next time we meet. I think I'm already due you one, but I'll give you another one. You did indeed turn up at the right time, Matt. Thank you very much. What is my camera doing? So yeah, what I would like, Matt, is I want another entry in that menu item. So I found that there's this section that has got a bunch of buttons in it, but you're saying I need a menu. So is that where, maybe if I do this in Visual Studio, it might be a bit easier. So let me open some reference projects. That would be great. So there's currently menu items for the install Bootstrapper. That is, so this is obviously what happens when I click that menu item. So am I right in saying that it's the VSCT file that is controlling the structure of it? And if it is, because there, okay, so there's the menu. So there's the cake build menu item. So if I were to add another one that is cake build bootstrappers, I'm just going to have a menu GUID. There's a few examples. So Augusto's got a link there for some examples. So we want a sub menu, I think. How to create on a sub menu demonstrates the use of the command placement section of the to place a command inside a new group on a. Okay, that sounds like what we want. But if I'm just gonna point anything in here at the minute, and I'm gonna say ID equals bootstrappers sub menu. I'll get there. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat at the same time as I'm typing. It's never easy. So priority, I'm going to guess that I'm going to make that lower than or higher than the one that is going to be the parent. Type is going to be menu. And then, you see there's a parent. So I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to say that he is a member of this one. This is complete guesswork at the minute, but I feel like I'm on the right track. Button text, let's just call it bootstrappers at the minute. And then the command name, let's just call it cake bootstrappers at the minute. Right. Put the button in a group and the groups in a menu. Cake sub menu. That doesn't sound good. Put the buttons in a group and the group in a menu. Okay, So I think we broke something. No, it's not actually. It doesn't like my GUID that I created. How about I do this then? Let's make it the same. See what that does. Didn't like that either. Undefined ID. Okay, so where does that get defined then? Cake sub menu. Oh, I need to define it here. Maybe. A little bit of guesswork happening here again. Well, let's see what happens. Cake inst. Do I just pick a number? So I was going to do 20, but then I think there already is one. Oh, maybe there's not. My gut told me 20 as well, but 20 is there. So I was going to go with 26. Again, a little bit of guesswork. 10, 26. What happens then? IDs just need to be unique with a GUID command set. Okay. So I need a semicolon there. That would help. Oh, don't like that. So what are you saying there? GUIDs, IDs just need to be unique with a GUID and command set. So GUID cake package command set 1. So this is the part I don't understand. So the parent would be that one, which is that one. So this one needs to be different then. Cake Bootstrapper. Nope. Do I need then to define this somewhere? You see, it's in here too. Okay. Public const string. Oh, come on now. String is equal to what's the thing I'm looking for? It's tools, isn't it? New GUID. Blah blah blah. Close enough. Package. Is there an easier way to put all this together, Matt? Or is it literally just a case of doing it like this? Define the IDs in the VSTS file is auto-generated. Okay. So I thought I had done that. Define the IDs. This is an auto-generated file. Okay, so let's remove those changes that I've been making to that then. So this one is auto-generated, right? Fine. So let's remove all of those changes. Is it auto-generated on build, Matt, or is it, do I need to trigger it? So why is this currently saying it's undefined then? It only exists in the VSCT file, but it feels like it needs to be in the VS command table. Which is this. So what do I need to do to trigger it? You need, oh, hold on. V6 synchronizer. That sounds like exactly what I need. That's an extension, right? So extensions, manage extensions. A V6 synchronizer from see, Extensibility Tools. Okay, why is that not coming up when I search for it? Let me copy this. Let's go to it over here. It's the wrong keyboard shortcut to do what I wanted to do. This is a Visual Studio, so why did that not come up in my search? Huh. I'm going to click the download button here then, and let's just install it directly then. How do you want to open this file? Do it. So that what version of Visual Studio do I have installed? That might explain why it wasn't showing up in the search. Oh, hold on then, okay. Extensibility Essentials 2019. Ah, so it's from Mads again. Okay, let's download this then. Makes it much easier to write. I love the sound of this extension already. It says it makes it much easier to write an extension. Let's go for it. So let's close this, let the V6. So that one has this similar functionality to this one. So the auto syncing of the VSCT, etc. Auto syncing resx files. This sounds amazing. What time of that? 9:30. Got 29 minutes left. If I could get to a point where I have the structure in place, then that would be amazing. Because then I can fill in the blanks off stream. Extensibility Tools is an extension pack. It adds a bunch of useful tools, including the synchronizer. Perfect. That sounds like exactly what I need. It's waiting for What's it waiting for shutting down? It was the create GUID. Jeez, oh. Let's get that installed then. Let's see where we get to. So no, I appreciate you showing up, Matt. I really do. I know I was bugging you about it over the weekend. But yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the Cake extension for Visual Studio updated. We've just recently shipped the updated version of the VS Code extension for Cake, and I'm trying to get some kind of level of feature parity between the Visual Studio Code extension and the Visual Studio extension. It's flat out easier to do the extension in VS Code than it is in Visual Studio. At least that's my experience. So, and like I say, the original creator of this extension, Alistair, is, I don't think he's not got as much spare time as he had before. So I'm kind of taking up the reins and I'm trying to get it to a point that we can ship it again. So tonight on the stream, we've already removed Visual Studio 2015 support, basically because it wasn't working, and I didn't necessarily have the time or the inclination to try and fix it. So we just removed the support. We just removed it in favor of 2017 and 2019 only. This seems to be doing a bunch of stuff. Installing image optimizer, v6 synchronizer, settings store explorer. There's a bunch of stuff going in here. It's downloading the internet, yeah, it certainly is. Certainly is. We'll get there though. I'm feeling good about it. Installing known monikers explorer. Says it's finishing up. That said VSCT IntelliSense, that could be very useful. Updating configuration for Microsoft Visual Studio. I feel we're getting very close. There we go. So it's done a bunch of stuff. Okay. So now if I open up Visual Studio, what's this going to do? So I don't know if Matt's still kicking about in the chat room. So is it now a case that when I save the VSCT file, it'll update the underlying file? I guess we could see that in action in my commit window. So let's open that solution again. It does for you. Okay, so let's give it a try. So let's make a modification here and save it. Oh, what did that do? Oh, look at that. So now it's, this file was generated by Extensibility Tools. So it's moved some stuff around, but that's fine. So if I delete that again, then, so what happens now? No, it did, Matt, it changed the file. Oh, we've still got an error though. Undefined GUID attribute. Maybe I should read the error message a little bit cleaner. So what changes has it made? So it moved the strings around, but let's do this, hold on. What have I added in? This is the one that I've added in. So let's cut this out. Refresh. Fine. Let's put this menu back in again. Did it add any more stuff? No, I must be doing something wrong still then. Or you said change the build action. The build action is currently VSCT compile, which sounds right, using the custom tool VSCT Generator. I'm trying to do it locally on my machine, but I can't get the project to build. Which you're talking about in this project, the Cake Visual Studio solution. What error are you getting? We have made some changes this evening that I haven't quite pushed up yet, but it shouldn't, the changes that I've got locally shouldn't prevent you from building it, because it actually published via AppVeyor to our MyGet feed. So it should build. Could not copy. Oh, no, yes. So if you were to go into open up a PowerShell window, Matt, and go to run, what's the one called? If you run this one. So if you open up a PowerShell window, Matt, and if you do build.ps1 -- target equals download nutkegs, that will then do pre-download some nutkegs that are then bundled into the V6 for the item templates, or for the project templates. Those files need to exist on disk before they can be pulled into the V6 files, or V6 file. You need to download that. It'll run that task at least once. So that, if I go to the chat room and do that, then that was, what did I run? I did build.ps1 -- target equals that unrecognized command. Oh, it's not even going to let me type it. Yeah, I can't type it. Hopefully you got it from the screen though. It is there. Let me make it a bit bigger. Properties 24. That should allow you to get it to build. But if I go back to here, I still feel I'm missing something with this guy. Where's it defined? So I'm going to ignore the tables. What's this? Cake. Where was Cake submenu? Okay. So how about this then? I copy this guy and put him into here. I ID symbol value equals 4122. Name equals that guy. What does that do? I added that into there. Oh, now it did some stuff. Now it did some stuff. Maybes. No. I feel I'm getting somewhere. Maybe. So where are you in this file? Ignore him. Oh, because if I do that then oh, hold on. Hold on. Maybes. How much time have I got? Getting close to the end of my allotted time here. What does this do? If I open up this guy again. Build. Cake build. Oh, it's not there. That's too much to hope for, wasn't it? It's now building, but it's still missing something. Parent. See, I think I'm still, something's still not quite right here. Maybes. I was kind of expecting it to, but you could be right. You could well be right. But no, Matt also said that I also needed to create a group. So maybe that's what we're missing as well. Maybe we should dig through this a little bit and see what we've got. So we have a group here. Top menu group. Maybe should have looked at some of these examples that Augusto put through. It's not the file I want to look at. Yeah. Based on one of the examples I'm looking at from Augusto, then there are two groups in play. One is called My Group for submenu and My Group for commands. So I wonder if we could clone this repository and bring up what it's doing. Let's maybe grab this. And we go up to CD, up to here, make dir Visual Studio Extensibility, CD into there, and then git clone this guy. So So then let's fire open a new instance of Visual Studio. And let's see what's going on in one of these projects, and we might be able to build on what it's doing. So open project solution. See GitHub organizations, Visual Studio, V6 samples. Now, which one was I looking at? I was looking at the sub menu, which is this one. And oh, that's not good. That doesn't bode well. The find VS SDK installation task. What's expected to be installed? This is maybe an older project. I don't have any of the SDKs installed because I'm now using the oh yeah, it's still this sample's using all of the older way of doing it. It's not the nupkegs. But in here, I sort of wanted to see what this is doing. But this has two groups, a menu item, and then the buttons contained within it. So each of these buttons is linked to so they're all related to a GUID, and that GUID is defined here, and that then contains all the items. Okay. Placement for groups and menus. The parent of a group is a menu, context menu, or toolbar. The parent of a submenu is always a group. The priority sets the position of the group compared to the priority of the other existing groups in the menu. The order is toolbar or menu, submenu, commands, ID. Wow. Have a good night, Jan. Enjoy your cyberpunk. So do we have any command placements? I guess we must. Oh, we don't have any command placements. Okay. But we do have menus and groups and buttons. Okay, so those are that's the groupings for the one that we deleted. Fine. That's the one for the Task Runner Explorer. This is this one. Okay. So in here, I'm fairly sure we want these to be in the same one. Right? So then in the group, we have another group. I think. So then submenu group. Sort of winging it again, but Did I create that one? Oh, I'm getting myself all confused. I might have to draw this out to try and get a better understanding of how it all pieces together. Because at the minute, I'm flailing. This is meant to be the easy bit. You know what? For the last 8 minutes, I'm going to have a look at something else. So I mentioned earlier that currently the Cake extension for Visual Studio assumes that cake.exe is available somewhere. So it currently has some logic to attempt to find cake.exe. And it finds that. It attempts to find it before it'll do some of the functionality the extension currently provides. And what I want it to do is I want it to also be able to look for the Cake.net global tool being installed. So what it's doing is get cake path. So what's it looking for here? Locator, new tool locator, cake.exe, add config path to be, okay, getting it from the configuration file, adding environment variables, add known paths to tools, cake, or the root folder, and then it's going to ask it to locate that based on the current working directory, I'm assuming, and then returning whether path helpers exist on path, return either cake or null or the path. And then there is a test in here. Oh no, that's for, oh, that's a misnomer. And then what's this then? That's the template as well. Okay, so that's a misnomer. So the only one that we're interested in is this guy. So where is this referenced? It's not referenced. Beautiful. Okay, doesn't seem like it's used. Fair enough. So we would need it then to look for either cake.exe or, so tool locator is something that we create. This is something that Alistair created. It is. So we should be able to extend this then for each var. We might be able to pass in a string of executable names rather than a single executable, because we would also want to look for, so currently I don't have it installed, but if we were to run .NET tool list global, and there's nothing, but if we do .NET tool install cake.tool globally, then we would have Dotnetcake. Which could be invoked, and that is an exe, because that's the shim that was created. Interesting. Okay, so in theory, we may want to change this up a little bit to be a list of string executables, executable names. I'm just going to break everything, I think. List of string executable names. There's going to be a bunch of broken stuff down here. You see that's not going to break. We would need to do another for each in there. For each var executable name in executables. So over here, this would be executable name, and then feels like a little bit of repetition there, but that could be improved upon later. That would work there, but then it would be broken elsewhere. So if we attempted to build that here, this will break on. Oh. Let's undo those changes for this at the minute. I'll need to go back and step through the VSCT file and basically draw a picture, I think, so that I can see how it all hangs together. So in here, we would want to say new list of string cake.exe and .NETcake.exe. Now the add known paths, that could be an interesting one. We would want to add another known path in there, I think, because if we go up to here and look at GitHub, organizations, cake contrib, which one of these will have? I don't think any of these will have a manifest in them yet. I'm trying to remember where it, I think that might be enough. But if we were to do that and do but what's this doing? Return if the string is null or empty, you know what, I think I'm going to run that. I'm going to do one test and then I'm going to sign off for the night because it's coming up to the end of this. It's coming up to the end of my allotted time. So we may have to kibosh this for the night, and I'll have some work to do during the week. So the hope is to still get a version of this shipped this week, and that will bring some level of feature parity between the VS Code extension for Cake and the Visual Studio extension for Cake. And then at some point we would need to look at the language server implementation for Cake so that we would have full parity. So that's returning cake because it must have been the first one on the list. But if we do choco uninstall cake.portable and let's remove cake.exe from the path, will it then pick up on the Dotnetcake? Fine. So in here, if I run this, oh, I got two instances. No, I don't. Let's close you down so that we don't have both. I don't know if you're still around, Matt, but did that help with the build error that you were seeing running that command to download the nupkegs? Be good to know if you were able to get it building. Okay. That doesn't bode well. But thank you, I appreciate it. Has this got cake? Oh, it does. Look at that. So now then, this is obviously not null. So that means that in here, oh, it's the wrong button. If I do this, get cake path is now interesting. So how about then if I do, what happens if I just let this run? Oh, let's take you out of there a second. If I, oh, look at that. Okay, so what happens if I do that? Oh, look at that. It's running Dotnetcake global tool. That's going to fail though. Why did that not fail? I would have expected that to, I don't know if that's coming through on the stream or not. That syntax is now incorrect. But it did run the .NET global tool. So if I do another task in here then, if I do task Bob does if I do information Bob, if I save that and refresh this guy, it's going to pass target Bob, but it did do it. Is that right, Augusto? You could well be right. No, sorry, you're absolutely correct, because it's only with the introduction of Spectre CLI where the backwards compatibility breaks. So no, you're absolutely correct. But the usage of -target is wrong though. So we want that to change to have that instead. So that would fix it. It would fix it, but it would make it consistent. Shouldn't break anything. So it should still work here. Yes, it will still work here as well. So there's a bit more work to do here, but this would bring support for the globally installed .NET global tool for Cake, which again would be feature parity with the VS Code extension, which is really what I'm gunning for. So there's a little bit more work in here in terms of what it returns by default, because it's returning cake.exe when it probably shouldn't. Or the default should be the .NET cake.exe. So let's just see if this works. And then I'm definitely shutting down for the evening because it's getting much later here. So if I do double click here, then we've got dash dash target. And then it runs. Look at that. Happy days. And then default. Oh, look at that. Okay, I like that. So I'm not going to commit that because that's horrendous code that I've put in there. But the concept of it is valid. But I'm going to have to refine that a little bit, I think, to. But let me just do one thing while I remember. I'll create a new issue, which is support usage of .NET tool for Cake. In addition to looking for cake.exe, the extension should also work with .NETcake.exe out of the box. Assign myself to that. That's going to be a improvement, I would say. And we're going to stick that on the milestone there. And for now then, I'm going to say that we can push where we're at. Okay, VS, git push upstream. And git push origin. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to say that that's me for the night. As a quick recap, we have been playing with the Cake extension for Visual Studio. We made some changes to it. Well, we tested it out in 2015, 2017, and 2019. Found that it didn't work in 2015, so we added a breaking change to the repository, and we've said that going forward we're only going to support 2017 and 2019. After that, we set about trying to figure out the menu structure for the command menu to add in a new one specifically for the Bootstrapper section. I got lost in how that works. Matt Lacey came onto the stream and told us that there's an extension that we could use from Mads Christensen that would help with synchronizing files that need to be updated. We got that installed, but I think I'm just holding it wrong in terms of knowing how that works. So I basically want to draw out a menu structure and how the menus and groups and commands all kind of interlink to each other. So I'll need to do that. But what we did do is I dug in a little bit and figured out what needs to happen in terms of adding support for .NETcake.exe in addition to cake.exe, which would allow executing of the tasks in Task Runner Explorer using the globally installed .NET tool, which at the minute only supports cake.exe from a chocolate package or installed another way. So happy with that. More testing to do there though, but on the whole, I think we're making progress. The two main things that I wanted to get from the extension before we ship it is the support for the .NET Global tool and the additional Bootstrapper menus. So I think it's doable within the week, but I'll have to see how it goes. Matt, if you're still around, I may bug you via the Twitters at some point if I don't get anywhere with the menu structure. So I appreciate any help that you might be able to offer there. And like I say, there's a drink in it for you once all these COVID-related shenanigans are over. But for now, thank you everyone who came on the stream. I appreciate it, and I will hopefully see you all next week. Thank you very much. And yes, thank you, Maurice, for doing that. So I'm going to press a button which should end the stream, and yeah, talk to you later.